this was the missed payment to her for 2 checks for 3109.03. So those 2 checks will be pulled off of your report for tonight. So your total funds now will be 542,965.14. On your total for your corporate fund, it's now 111,644.26. Under your water fund, it's now 297,867.96, which gives you your total funds of 532,965.14.
Would somebody like to make a motion with those changes? So okay. Trustee Lynch, do we have a second? Trustee Clark, any questions? For question, call roll.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Lynch?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe?
Yes.
Trustee Taylor?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Aye. Mr. Arkin, do you want to do payroll?
Sure. I didn't want to do those payroll, I just didn't have it. Payroll as of the day 19/2024, corporate 152,978.85, sewer and water 16,566.89, payroll call $13,052.49, monthly call for $17,725.43, vendor checks $2,591.54, overtime police $9,702.17, sewer and water $665.56, public works overtime $358.13, admin and development stipend $461.52, and admin stipend $1,292.31. That's a total payroll for $202,334.
Somebody like to make a motion for the payroll of April 19th, 2024? So, Trustee Lynch. Trustee Clark, any questions? For question, call roll.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Clark? Trustee Lynch?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe?
Yes.
Trustee Taylor?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Payroll as of May 17, 2024, corporate line $31,706.14, sewer and water $14,158.09, payroll call $10,714.32, electricity $1,035.10, unbilled golf course $30,119.47, vendor checks $3,164.62, overtime police $10,420.74, of that amount reimbursable is $418.88, sewer and water $759.62, public works overtime $446.55, economic development stipend $461.52, admin stipend $1,592.33, that's the total payroll of $204,878.50.
So we'd like to make a motion for the approval of the payroll of May 17th, 2024. Dirk, well, let's get a first and a second in case. So moved. Trustee Lynch, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Trustee Brown, any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. What elected position is $1,035.02?
That's the mayor's stipend.
We need some more money.
No, what's that?
That's the word, we need some more money.
I don't have to say that.
I talked to Sandy about it, what they do. I'm not sure why they broke it out like that, why they break it out like that to include insurance on there. So I just asked her moving forward if they could remove that.
But that's what we changed the pay scale.
Did you guys receive my email that I sent to the board regarding the clarification regarding payroll?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this one within the payroll that basically it should not be on there, but that is what it is.
Any
I
other
agree
questions?
with that.
Any other questions? For question, call roll.
Trustee Brown?
Good evening. Randy from 11 o'clock, for Chief Production Board. First of all, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank the village for supporting us on the day of baseball. It was a good day for us. We had 5 teams. It was a very nice day with the police and fire escorting us out. We really appreciate that. First of all, you see we have a lot of people that came out and they enjoyed our park.
Great event.
It was a very nice opening day, so I really appreciate that. It's very, very nice. And this was my sponsors. We also, so we have here on the discussion.
Ms. Potts. I'm sorry. Is it with green light on?
Okay.
Oh.
I guess.
It is now.
Mr. Devise.
All right, so yeah, I follow up with the appreciation for our opening day. The kids always have a great time anyway, and it's a nice way to let our village, the residents know that we do have some activities for the kids, and so we really appreciate that. I see we have on the agenda the discussion for the field house and concession stand access. I really can't stay, but I would like to participate in that discussion. As I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, we were trying to avoid any type of confrontation with gaining access due to the large amount of investment that we put into the concession stand for our season. And, football does the same thing. We all have our time when we're in that concession stand. We make sure everything is locked up, secured, and all of that. I appreciate what the park district did to come in and clean up the garage area because it was kind of messy and separate everything, although baseball stuff was put on the floor, so we had to pick that up and put it on the table. Investment put on the floor. But at one time we talked about a shed, and we really do need a shed. So that if football wants to get access while we're out there, we can do whatever they need to do and vice versa. So it was decided, I know for the last meeting there was no shed required, but I think there is a need for it. So that everyone can make sure they have equal access, get access to their products. So there are no confrontations. We shouldn't have any confrontations in the village, which we are all residents. So that was unfortunate that happened. I didn't know that the police were coming along with football. I thought we were going to have a discussion of how we were going to do this. So we did have a confrontation, which really was unfortunate, and I mentioned that to you. We should try to avoid that at all costs. But I think we do need a shed.
Did we price the sheds?
So we did get prices for the sheds, Mr. Mayor, but part of it was,
And thank you, Ms. Black. Part of it is that I met with the 2 coaches, and that was the football coach and the baseball coach, of which they had a discussion different from the meeting we had on Saturday, and they both decided that they did not need the shed. I told them that if the shed is needed, or we find a reason for the shed, we can bring it back. So if that's now coming back, I haven't heard it from Mr. Dixon. The first question would be, because it kind of came up on Saturday, with a shed, well then whose stuff goes in the shed? Is it the football stuff that goes in the shed, or is it the baseball stuff that goes in the shed? So I think those are some things, some conversations that we have to have and reach agreement in terms of if we move forward with the shed, whose stuff goes in the shed? Football wants to say that they want a steel container because they're concerned with it, because of wood shed out there, they're concerned that somebody would take the saw, cut a hole in it, and just take the stuff out. They didn't want to increase their insurance to cover stuff that's in there. At the same time, we then say that the stuff from baseball goes into the shed, and if it does, then we still have the same issue with insurance or something happens. So I think those are some of the things that we've got to, talk about. Getting the shed is not the problem. I asked the Director of Public Works to do that, and he said that we did do a shed. I think he said within 3 weeks we had a shed on site, but after being told by both coaches that they didn't need the shed, we can check it out. But if we need to revisit it, he nor I have an issue.
Brian, because we talked about this for a number of years, I think the last board meeting. So can we start moving with direction from the board as opposed to going to the teams first and then coming to the board, because, like you said, you're right. There was an understanding that it wasn't needed, at least when we were told, they weren't needed, now they're needed. But this is why I said what I said at the last meeting. There needs to just be a streamlined process from the village's perspective, and then everyone beyond that needs to just follow suit. So there has been requests in years past for these storage sheds. The reality is they should have it, because the concession stand isn't a storage facility. It has a purpose, and it should be used for that and that only. And so while we have different individuals in place now for these sports teams, they might not be there years to come, and their perspective might change. But what needs to be constant is the village's approach. And I think that the village needs to have something in place to mitigate problems going forward. So I think that moving forward, let's have these conversations with the board, let the board's direction take priority, and then whomever is involved in whatever activities, whether it's sports, baseball, football, basketball, that they then follow the precedents set by the board, so that we don't continue to run into these roadblocks every year.
Okay, I think that's a great idea, so I got two questions, for the board. We can do the expenditure later. Does the board want to shed? That's the first question, and then number two, whose items go in the shed? We can make those decisions tonight, but you don't have to start on it tomorrow.
So we're gonna have this,
Mayor, we have this conversation now.
And we do have a representative from football also,
There's
so.
a motion to table on the floor, which supersedes anything, so. She's motion to table.
Because the other.
The representatives aren't here.
No,
No,
it's not.
Okay.
well, this one here.
Right.
No, that's different. There's a discussion on that key.
So let's go ahead. I apologize.
So what I can do is I'll put it on the next agenda, and we can decide.
For a vote.
The shed, yes.
But can we discuss it now?
Sure.
And then, before I sit down, I think that having control of the keys is a good idea.
I agree.
We only have 2 sets per area, that leads to limited access, I think that works. So far, we haven't had any issues with that. And the third thing is the grass was cut, finally, but the debris is still there. Kids are throwing the grass up in the air, throwing debris, it's a lot of debris about,
Okay, because we have that under discussion, because we did have an issue, last week with grass cutting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to address the board?
So, Brian, we get the cost for the shed. Was this just the one shed?
Well, it would be, as of right now, it would be the one shed. I mean, I think we need to make the determination if we want the shed, then I can come back to the cost, and we can put the item on the agenda for approval of the cost of the shed, and then at which time we can have a conversation to decide whose property goes into the shed.
Madam President.
Good evening, my name is Doreen Davis, and I am here representing Boone Cougars football and cheer. I do want to start by a clarification that it was said during our meeting that football brought the police didn't come with football, they came with the village manager. So I want to clear that up. I guess there's been some conversation here regarding the program. I'm not sure why in this forum, because we're dealing with a personality conflict. I have been in this program 31 years this year. I have been in this village 42 years. I know I'm not 25, so that's all. We have never, in my time, had an issue with any other program. I can look around here, probably Larry, probably Ron. Let's see, Kevin. Probably probably just as much knowledge of the programs as myself. And you've been out here forever too, so no disrespect. Trustee Lynch spoke about the turning of hands. We produce our own. The Cougars have had a president that was wrong then. So is basketball. And as far as I know, so is baseball. But a personality issue was put upon the floor here, and you entertained it, and it turned into something else. And that's my feelings about it. I don't know if you gave me away because they're past trustee. I don't know. If I come here, I would write about all my personal issues, the things in the village. I don't know how much movement you're gonna make over. I just want to put that out there. This program is sustained from volunteers, volunteers within, volunteers in the other communities who chose to represent Glenwood. When it comes to these blocks and these storage boxes, there has never, ever been an issue. But the last 3 years with the personality conflict, the locks is just the mask. This is about grown people who just can't get along, to be honest with you. I'm not here to do that. I'm assuming you guys are not therapists. The storage box, we spoke to Mr. Dixon, we spoke to Brian. Here, just walked in the room. There was already an agreement. There's never been a need. I don't know, in the 15 years that baseball came over to the concession stand on Hickory side and needed space. There's never been a problem. They've run into a problem now. Our program is wrong. If some of you don't know, our program is wrong. We have to keep up with those. We had spring football for 3 years, and we didn't do it very well. The kids need to get pads out of the session. And there wasn't Ms. Platt was in there. There was no cars out there. Coach went in to get pads. She was startled, and I did. I wholeheartedly agree with that security and that safety. But we tried to come to an agreement. How do you move forward when someone doesn't want to agree to anything? We're supposed to give them basic kids. Kids, it's 31 years. I don't have, my son is a coach. My son is athletic director. My grandson is a player. My grandchildren are playing. We're here for kids. Why are we fighting over, oh, we got space over here, oh, we got space over here? Because we come down to our club was the baseball. For those who may or may not know. They had a problem with us playing over there when Hickory was under construction. So we can go back in history, but they don't want us using the baseball field for the kids to practice. This whole storage bin, I can see a flood. Because again, how you gonna determine what's going on? Baseball doesn't have a whole lot of stuff in the concession. It really doesn't matter to football. When we're on the field and they're having their fall ball, they come to concession, they get to get things. It's never been a problem. I myself have chosen to only deal with the president. I don't have to deal with somebody that's really irrelevant to me. But all this lock changing and lock moving and all this is ridiculous. For 31 years, and it was a structure. There's always been a structure for the keys.
So let me ask you this, because you said, but
When it comes to the keys, but let me finish the structure of the keys.
But that's the issue. The
It's
structure, it is, because that's why we're here.
But
The
you
structure
understand.
the structure of the keys are being determined by non-village personnel. I think that's problematic. It is.
Okay.
Because you guys were given keys individually by whomever, by probably previous administration, whomever it was. I don't know any other place, and we can have this conversation, where any non-personnel employee has access to any type of property in which they don't own rights to. And I think that not only that, like you said, you've been here 31 years, and things have been fine. What I can tell you is from the 8 years I've been on board, every year there's some type of issue between the sports teams. And I agree wholeheartedly that it is a personality issue. And we're not therapists, but what we are legislators. And the only way to eliminate those personality issues are to put some things in place that would prevent those personality issues, to circumvent what is already happening. And so if it continues to be a personality issue, even after you might decide to resign, or somebody else will resign, then we have to deal with another set of personality issues. And it's back to square one until you put some things in place that's consistent across the board. That's all I'm saying. Because if it's problematic about someone being in their space, someone utilizing their stuff, and I could misstep, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe over the 8 years I've been here that both teams have asked for storage units. At one point or another, both football and baseball have asked for storage units.
That's not entirely true.
Okay. All right. So even with that, I think that it gives autonomy for both sports teams to have their own secure area where they have their own key to, and we eliminate that. And if the concession stand is to be only accessed by the person who has rights to that field at that particular time, then the village can then control who's going in and who's going out.
And who's to say that the village is not? Let me get back to something. You said the 8 years you've been here, there's been a personality conflict. We didn't even get a phone call. We didn't get an email. We didn't get a text message. We didn't get anything that there was an issue in 2024.
But they come here.
But again, it shouldn't have been even allowed to be presented on the floor when it's personal. That's my personal opinion. Any issues that have been dealt with the sports programs in the past has been dealt with the village manager, who has said, let's sit down and come to a consensus. I haven't hit a consensus in probably 6, 7 years. So when you say it's been an issue for 8 years, if there's an issue for 8 years, that's an issue you allow on your floor. Because the issue has not come to this program. When it comes to those keys, I understand. Past village administrators have keys, past trustee has keys, so-and-so has keys. But there's never been a key issue with Glenwood Hawks, Glenwood football, Glenwood baseball. It's never been a key issue. Nothing can ever be traced back to say, this was football's key, this was basketball's key, for them to get in their equipment room, you to get in your equipment room. It would be just ridiculous to have to go have someone else sign in a key. We're on the field from February to November. February to November. That field house is rented out in accordance with the village. We have our monthly meetings, we have our monthly coaches meetings, and that's when we utilize it. We utilize it other than that, we're calling this Tiffany. Is it available? Is it available for parents meeting? Is it available for this? So we do everything by compliance. So to say that we're not compliant, that's absolutely incorrect.
I never said that.
I'm more
I'm not saying
offended
no one.
that we're spending
I
time.
never said that.
That it's time being spent with the trustees dealing with some kids' programs because somebody is mad. I don't make irrelevant people relevant. I have to think that this village board has more on their plate with street light and water main breaks and pavement and police and fire than to deal with somebody's mad because they didn't get their rate and they came here to vent and you allowed them to vent a personal issue.
We let anybody
The sports
talk
license,
about
if you don't want to
discussion.
do with that, I don't even see how that's going to work. But do what you need to do. I'm telling you, being in this community for 40 plus years, being with this program 30 plus years, I've dealt with basketball as well. I just think it's an insult. And as you say again, and I'll repeat it, the hands don't turn over like that in this program. We breed our own.
But they do turn.
We breed our own. I've been here 31 years. I've been
So
in
they
charge 20 years.
So they
This
help
gentleman
you.
has been in charge 20 years.
That's fine. Help
Ron
me
Zork has
understand.
been out here 40 years.
So they help me understand.
Mr. Dixon has been out here 25 years.
That's great. I mean, the number of years, to me, are irrelevant.
I got it.
Because at this point, what you've already said is that by your own admission, this has been happening at least the last 6 or 7 years.
I said 3.
3 years. That's still problematic, but you said 6.
But it's only one problem.
But
This is
that's-
for one person. You're not even dealing with the president. You're not even dealing with the president.
And that's why that's why the board needs to set up.
But you should have entertained a personality issue when you weren't dealing with who facilitated.
We allow open discussion to anybody.
Yeah, we can go back and forth.
We
It's
can.
already long.
Well,
My
they-
passion was deep for the Cougars.
That's
It was
fine.
deep for these.
They should.
Because the village hasn't provided a program for the kids. If you feel that there's an issue with the keys, I'm all for a discussion of the keys. I'm all for you creating whatever rules that you want to. What I'm not for is that you're not including the 3 programs that should be included in that discussion to come up with a solution. That's my problem with the keys.
Well, it sounds
Now,
like the village administrator had a discussion, and yet we're here again.
we're
That's
here
problematic.
park on the floor because it's being allowed. What you're not gonna do is keep attacking your largest youth program that brings in more revenue, more people. People are talking about doing cool all over. We can go to Atlanta and it's down here. But we are coming here to defend our name. You have allowed a resident to come up here and just keep putting the nail in. Keep putting the nail in. When it should have been shut down, this ain't dealing with the village administrator. Have your president, call that president, call the people, and we're gonna sit down like adults and have a conversation.
Did that happen?
Because
No, it did not.
it was declined.
My point is that
It was
we're
declined.
and so obviously it can't happen.
We can't keep making
Which means
excuses
obviously
for
it
problems.
can't happen, which means the board needs to take
It
control
can't
of it.
happen. It can't happen. We tried to have a meeting on the field.
But it didn't work. It's not
Yeah. It absolutely worked. Baseball president, and football president came to an agreement. It did work.
But can I ask, wait, excuse me, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
I just need, you say a couple of times that we allowed people to come up and say whatever. On the agenda is public comment. It's not that look, when I was sitting over there, before I was sitting over here, I couldn't believe some of the stuff that people were coming up here and saying, or complaining about, or just being rude to the trustees, calling names. I couldn't believe it. I thought that they shouldn't allow it. However, on the agenda, it's public comments. So you have a passion. My son was on the Hawks, my son was on the Cougars, and he's third. So I get it. I've been here for a minute too. I get the passion. A lot of times my passion is misconstrued for me being negative or whatever, but it's passion, and I hear your passion. I just want to say, it's not that we allow this or that. We have to hear you, we have to hear them, and we have to hear anybody. Hopefully it's with respect, but we still have to listen to it, and then we kind of try to disseminate the information as best as we can. But I appreciate everybody's comment. I hear your passion. Personally, in my mind, I think this is just my thought, because I don't have my kids are grown now, okay? I think that a key issue or a key situation needs to be put in place only because of what we hear sometimes. I heard that, it's all over the village, that you all's discussion almost turned into a fight. Physical, the arguing and this and that, that was all over. That has reached more ears than you can imagine. And it is for the kids. So if the children see the adults that can't get along and want to get the blows, cussing each other out, etc., where do we go from there? So we have to temper our passion or temper ourselves to come up with some kind of agreement. And I'm all for you all coming up to agreement, talk to the administrator, whatever it is. We all, I'm sure, just want it to just be pleasant.
And I appreciate that from you. It was to our understanding that not once or twice that this personal issue has come up. And just for the record, we sat out here and it was positive. So if there's another key issue, then maybe it's not coming from these programs.
It's
in the village.
more than the issue.
I'm done.
It's more than the issue.
Good evening.
Gary, can you write the name?
Yes, I will. I'm going to be very nice. You know why? Because it's nothing to be upset about. I just ran from my mayor to tell I had to come to Glenwood's board meeting because it was a discussion regarding the kids. And she said to me, as much time as I put into these kids, go. I'm the public works director for the village of Branson. And I have been a part of Glenwood Cougars for 20 years. I think everyone in this town knows. I have not received one phone call as the president of Glenwood Cougars regarding this issue. I received a phone call from the village manager about putting me and baseball together, Mr. Dixon, because there's been a problem. Hey, I'm at my camper on Saturday morning. I'm fishing. I don't know what's going on. Ma'am, you're 100% right. There was some shouting, there was some stuff. I was not there, can't tell you much about it, but I do know myself as the president of football and the president of baseball, we had a discussion 3 times with the village manager. We came to agreement because we said we've never had an issue before. So why is there an issue now? I still don't know what the issue is. As the president of this organization, I still don't know what the issue is. Because no one has told me what the issue is. I heard there was a Wednesday night, one of my guys came into practice to get the pads out, just like we normally do. And there was a lady in there, she got started. You know what? When I found out from the village administrator, I called my coach on the field. Hey, what's going on? Hey, we didn't know anybody was in there. Listen, guys, knock on the door, because guess what? If my wife was in there, I would feel the same way too. But I am a man. And if I have an issue, I'm going to speak to the man that is in charge regarding the issue. This has still not been done. I understand the gentleman's name is Mr. Plott. I don't know if you're here. I really don't know. He says he does not know me, but I know him very well because every year it was election time. He would show up at the field to say hello. So I don't know how come I could not be reached. When you speak of keys, trustee, there's one person with a key. One person with a key. And that is myself.
To what piece of work?
The keys
To what?
to the field,
What's the field?
the park, the field. Excuse me?
You're saying there's only one person who keeps it?
That is me, sir. That is me, sir. As the president of Glenwood Cougars, that is me. I have a key to the building that we have 2 closets in there with all of our equipment that I come from work every day, working on equipment, taking deliveries and doing different things. I have the same key for the concession stand, where our equipment is in the field house. No one in my organization has a key except me. That key stays in my car. If that young man has practice tonight and I can't make it, what do? I come over and I unlock it because I'm in Lansing. I don't give my keys out. You know why? Because I am a city official, so I do understand the responsibility. And to answer your question, my Lansing Little League, my Lansing softball, my Lansing volleyball, the Lansing Lions, the basketball program, they all have a key to the sports complex. You know why? Because I don't pay staff to sit there every night to unlock the door to get a volleyball or a football. You know why? Because it's programs that have been around for years. We don't have turnover. I've been there 20 years. You know it just as everybody else knows it. We've never had a problem until this year. Ask the question, why? Why is there a problem this year? Why? What's the problem? Because somebody new is working in the concession stand? That's not my problem. That's their problem. Because for all the years that I've been here, we have always shared everything. We play on a Saturday during August, football season as you call it. Baseball is playing fall league. They're using my paint machine. They're using my ice machine. I didn't ask the village to buy an ice machine. You know what I did? I asked my parents to buy an ice machine. I just called Joe the other day. I said, Joe, somebody to tell me what the problem is, because I left my board meeting to come here because my 240 kids that are out there on that field that were told they shouldn't go in the bathroom, go piss in a tree because I'm not opening the door. That's what Mr. Potts said, very loud. I even told the mayor, I said, Mr. Mayor, what would happen if all those kids lined up and pissed on somebody's fence or somebody's wall, as much as we're trying to clean up this park, but you want to sit here and talk about controlled keys? Be happy I opened the bathroom for the kids to be in the bathroom. Second of all, be happy in the middle of May and June and July that we got these kids on this field versus running up and down the street doing more damage. Be happy we trying to teach these young men something.
So let me say this, because I think now we really running off the expressway. You are, because let me say this. I don't think anyone on this board, particularly me, has said anything about not understanding the importance of having a program. That's evident, number one. Let me finish. You guys stand here. We didn't invite you. You're here because you wanted to.
No, I'm here because I'm being told.
But you're here because you wanted to.
No, let me correct you.
No. You said
I was told we were on the agenda tonight. I was told, Mr.
You're not
Mayor.
on the agenda tonight. You guys are not on the agenda tonight. There's a discussion
About keys.
There's a discussion about the concession stand.
Okay.
So let me first say this again. No one here, including me, thinks that the football or baseball or basketball program is obsolete or unneeded. That is not the point of this conversation. The point of this conversation is that personalities are causing continual problems. Now, one thing that I take exception about is that before you, she said 6 years, then she said 3 years, then she said this is the first year. Every year, this board has heard issues with problems with the concession stand. I don't care. I'm gonna ask you a question. Let me just finish. I don't particularly care who is going in when it shouldn't, who's responsible. My problem is that it's an issue. I want to fix the issue. And so our understanding is the last meeting was that there was a conversation and there was an understanding. Apparently, it's not. So let me finish before you go. Apparently, it's not. And so if this keeps coming to us, at some point, the board has to say, we need to do something. And us doing something does not mean that we don't appreciate the sports teams, we don't appreciate the coaches. It means that if this continues to come to us, we got to take action as a legislative body. And the only way to do that is to streamline whatever process there is, or to create one, so that it's not an uneven scale for any sports team. That's all I'm saying. I don't care. I don't know how many people have keys, but what I do know is that if that's an issue, and what has been brought to us previously, we need to address it. If there's an issue with storage, we need to address the storage issue. If there's a scheduling issue, we need to address it. I don't care about personalities. I don't care about how long people live here. I care about fixing the problem. And it's an issue. Whether it's a personality problem, whether it's who went in last, it's an access problem, it's a scheduling issue. Those three things need to be addressed by the board. That's the bottom line. That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Can I respond? Okay. I don't know who was addressing you. I'm being honest. Because myself, as president, Mr. Dixon, as president, Mr. Swansby, as president of these three athletic organizations, we have no problem. So now, as you keep saying it's being brought to your attention, it must be brought to your attention that somebody that does not sit on that athletic presidency. Because I have no problems with Glenwood Cougars. Mrs. Saunders has no problem with the Hawks. You know why? Because we all coach both sports. Yes, ma'am.
May I ask?
Yes, ma'am.
So instead of talking in third person, Ms. Locke, can you please come forward? Because you can answer his questions, because you originally brought it to us. So that's what you keep referencing to in third person. So let's just get in front of this.
So, ask a question, Trustee Rose. Just so I'm not talking to a brick wall. Trustee Clark, you've been on the board for a few years. Mayor, has this, or am I dreaming? Has this been an issue brought to the board for the last couple of years? Or concession problems?
So,
Has it not been an issue brought up?
let me just tell you the first time something happened. Was when I was at a finance meeting, and the village administrator told me it's the middle of summer, that we need to go to the concession stand and take our stuff out of the top floor because football can't determine if anything's going to happen to it. And so we need to get it out of the way. Because that was about 2 or 3 years ago. And so Dixon and I went into the concession stand. It was hot as heck. And I remember we had put that stuff upstairs, put a tarp over it, and we removed it because we were instructed to do so. So that was the first time altercation that we had, because we do share the facility together. Now typically we're not on the field at the same time. Okay, so typically it doesn't happen that way. Usually we are there, we leave, we clean up. When they come, they do whatever they do. So that's the first time something happened when I was instructed that we need to move ourselves from upstairs. We were sweltering heat and we did that. Okay, now my concern is if I was the woman in there, in the concession stand, somebody comes in, yeah. Because I mentioned to you before, it's a different world. Just can't have people coming up on your local dock. I didn't know that man is. And Mr. Brown's my husband. And if you know who he was, then you would know that he said to me, he was like,
Okay, he's not here.
oh, right.
And your husband knows me also, man.
Well, no, he actually was not.
You don't?
No, he doesn't.
Can we, let's stick to the facts.
I'm here for the kids as well. All I want to do is protect our supplies, have our little thing will be done in a couple of weeks, by the end of the month, and that's it, children, we're done. You know, we do the same thing for the kids. When we have our picnic, we open it up to the community. Anybody that wants to come and have something to eat for free, we don't charge a dime after the registration. We do it all for the kids. We have all the different entertainment things we have. We have music, we have bouncy houses. Anybody that wants to come, we open it up to the community. Don't charge a dime. And so, I'm done with that. I just don't want anybody walking in on me, I don't know who they are. Okay, my husband has been a trustee since 2015, and there's no personal agenda because I don't know you guys. Okay? So, there's nothing personal at all. I'm done.
Thank you. Can I just, one thing, I'm sorry, can I be very quick? I'll be very quick. Okay. She's 100% right. And I respect what she says about the woman being walked up on. That's very big for me, and I agree with that. When it comes to the concession stand, I just want to address one thing. And I don't know how it was given to her. Every year, I take pictures when football season is over. I used to send them to the chief, and I sent them to village administrator. The concession stand is clean. The refrigerators are done. As a public works director, I know what happens in the winter about shutting water off and doing everything. Hey Brian, everything is off. Took a picture, went upstairs. I said, this is baseball stuff up here. I can't be responsible for it, but all of our stuff is out. Just like that. Just as baseball, when their season is over, because these are the rules, they clean up, they do the same thing. Okay? You made mention about the past 6 years. I'm very sorry, man. I will end on this note. This is the first year baseball has been back. So where was the problem? We had no baseball last year. We have 4 baseball teams this year. that travel and play in different facilities. We built that field out there. I was here with this board when we were designing that field. Hickory Glen has always been football. Baseball has always had Aquila Park. When that field was built, lights were moved, everything was moved, everything was moved. I remember Chief Welch came to me, because I was the president. Hey, Gary, we need to share this back room. Chief, I don't have a problem with it. It's okay. We've been playing spring ball for the past 8 years. We have 2 teams in spring. We practice 3 nights in a week. You know what I did? Hey guys, Glenwood Cougars will play no home games during the spring because baseball is there. So we will play our 6 games on the road the whole summer. So we don't interfere with them on Saturdays. You know why? Because when we have a football game, every road around Hickory Glen is packed. So out of respect for them, we don't play home. We travel. And as she said, the problem is she feels for her safety. You know what? I respect that. That's why I had a conversation with my program. So how we go from safety to losing product to now? Because when you talk about losing product, you're talking about possibly somebody stealing. Am I right? So now we're looking at the fact that who's stealing? Me? I'm not stealing. My coaches are not stealing. And we should be happy that all programs are out there, because if they open up the concession stand on a weeknight and the kids buy something, who makes the money? Baseball, not me. Well, so I thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry to take everybody else's time, but since I felt I needed to be here tonight because we're having an issue about a key in a concession stand in a park where kids are supposed to be at, we're doing the wrong thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to address the board? Okay. There's no communications from the mayor's office except for the fact that we are going to have a June 19th celebration, Juneteenth, I should say, and we're in the planning stages now. Attorney's report, John Donahue.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, board, and members of the public. Under me is approval of invoice for J&K Construction in the amount of $42,160.07 for work done to rehab the Hickory Glen Fieldhouse.
Somebody like to make a motion? So moved. Trustee Williams. Do we have a second? Second. Trustee Taylor. Any additional questions? Or questions? I'll roll.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Clark.
Yes.
Trustee Lynch.
Yes.
Trustee Rose.
Yes.
Trustee Taylor. Yes. Trustee Williams.
Aye.
Anything else, Jen?
That's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Village Administrator.
Good evening, Mayor, good evening, board, residents, and guests. We had a busy weekend here in Village Glen this past weekend. I want to thank all the elected officials, staff, and employees that came out to assist with the cleanup day. Picked up several bags of garbage, went to clean. One thing we did notice is that we need to do this a little more often. We kind of checked out on our public works to do it, but as you know, when we come back from the winter months, everything that's been out there for years, so for the past season is now on it. So, again, I want to thank everybody for coming out as well. Some of the elected officials, myself, and staff went over to the Glenwood School for Flag Day. And a very exceptional program, nothing like seeing young individuals that are following the guidelines of their peers. And I've got to say, we had a great time with that. A little hot, but we had a good time. The next item I need to bring up, believe it or not, is to have a discussion about the field houses and the concession stands. So I think the discussion, a lot of things have been said up to this point, but I think what the discussion needs to be is
in regards to the keys. One thing that we did tell the board was that once all of the facilities were completed with renovations, we would have to rekey in the effort to make sure we know who was going in and out of that. Some of the keys have been given out. As a result, Trustee Lynch, once again, brought up a couple board meetings ago that we need to revisit who have keys and how that key would be assigned or how that key would be given to a person so that the programs can happen as well as the HOAs. The discussion we're at now is a couple things we want the board to be clear on. We have people that we would hope will be responsible for the keys and for the facility, not just the keys, but the facility. If we look at now, pulling the keys back, not weighing in one way or the other, I just want to make sure that the board understands what that means. Then that person, whoever would be, that's using the field house, sports team, HOA, or whoever it is, would have to then come to the police station to get the key. There are times where, and she paid for it and attested this, we do not have a records clerk on duty. What that means is, I come in to get the key, I pick up the phone, the person that answers that phone is now at Econ Dispatch Center. The only person they're going to be able to call to give me the key is going to be a police officer. At that particular time, depending on the availability of a police officer to come to the station to give me that key, then depends on what that officer is currently doing. Now, that officer may be on standby waiting for a call, or that officer may be one of 3 or 4 officers on the street and they get calls backed up. So that wait time can go from, she can say 2 minutes if they weren't doing anything to close to the station, all the way up until they're clear for a call, 15, 20, undetermined amount of time for a call. Once they get that key and they go to the facility, once they finish using it, now they're going to bring that key back. Hopefully we have someone there in the records room at that particular time. If we do not, that person that signed the key out for that officer, they're now going to have to sign that key back in. We just spent right about, Joe, I want to say $5,400 on key locks to make sure everything was secure, to make sure that we knew who was going in and out. So when we talk about keys, I think we need to keep in mind the resources to get the keys to anybody using the facility. So at this particular time, that would include the field houses and the concession stands. The only one that it excludes would be the Blakely Center. So at this particular time, I welcome the conversation in terms of what the board would like to discuss as it relates to these.
Any of the trustees, have any comments?
I do. So for me, now that I've heard the other side of the story, because we've only heard one in our meetings, I don't necessarily know that we need to redo it. I think that's a private conversation that maybe we can handle with them to figure out how to resolve those issues. I don't think it's time the board probably needs to change it.
Any other comments?
I think the keys are in good hands with the president of the organization. We have not had any problems in the past. I don't see why we're going to have any problems in the future.
I got a question. Who has the keys?
President.
So the 3 presidents
Yes, ma'am.
have the keys.
We all used to have just one key. Now, after $5,400, I have 4 keys. Because each door has a different lockdown, which makes no sense.
It makes absolute sense because I'll tell you why.
And Trustee Brown, the president of the Homeowners Association, have keys. The appropriate point, the manner.
Correct.
Okay, so all the HOA presidents have keys.
Well, once this came up, we would kind of stop and give the keys out because I didn't want to continue to have Joe give keys out if you all made the decision that keys were coming back in.
So let me ask, since we're discussing, I don't have a problem with the presidents of the of the sports having the key. I don't have a problem with that. Now let me go on this side with the HOA presidents. They meet once a month, right? Usually. Then why do they need a key if they only meet once a month? Sports is different. They're doing this and this and that, but why do they need a key to a field house I'm just,
If I could say something about that, because I was one of the presidents for about 8 years, and the reason is because we have our office, like in Hickory Bend, we got an office back there, we got equipment back there that we use to put up our flyers and do other work and other assignments. And just because we only have a meeting once a month does not mean that we don't have other things that's going on. We have our own unification committees. We have other committees that have to meet as part of that.
so you just, then if that's the case, you just decide to meet whenever you want to? Because you have.
Yes, the president.
Why?
The president of the club. No, we have, just like this. You see here, this is the schedule of all the meetings that the Lions meet for the year. Okay? We make it over with the village. Okay? And then they put all of the dates through for the entire year that we're going to need to use those facilities. And just like I'm the president of the Lions, the presidents of the other clubs have the same type of situation. So it's all recorded with the village. They know when we're going to be there, they know what hours we're going to be there, and what we have to do while we're there.
Trustee Williams?
I hope I can explain it.
Trustee Williams, I'm not slow to this, but thank you. You explained that, this is what I heard, that as you president of the Lions has a lot of things to do. You have different meetings, you have different this, you have different that.
Yes, ma'am.
When I've gone to some HOAs, it's not even that many people there. Let me finish. I'll just say when I've gone. That's not all the time. When I've gone. I'm not negating that you don't have things to do, but to me, I still don't, you have to tell me how many times, that's just my opinion. Everybody has one. What do you always tell me? We don't need to agree.
No.
We can just be amicable. I don't think that, to me, right now, I don't think that the president of an HOA needs to keep the keys to a field house to use at random. I'm just saying random. Well, we feel like having a meeting on Tuesday. Let's go in the field house. You know what? That doesn't work. Let's go on Thursday. Oh, now, you know what? Let's have a car party on Saturday. No, well, our normal place is next week. That's what I'm saying. What is the structure, or I'm asking, you're not an HOA president, though.
I was for nine, for 8 years.
But I wasn't a trustee until now. So I'm talking about now. We're asking now, not then, because I don't know what they're doing back then, and I don't know what they're doing now. I'm just saying.
Okay, we do scholarships for the kids.
You're talking about the Lions.
No, I'm not talking about the Lions. I'm talking about when I was the president of the Homeowners Association, Trustee Ron Clark was the vice president, okay?
But
we got scholarship, 4-year scholarships for students, our students. We need the facilities to do that. We got $50,000 from Senator Carol Mosley Braun, and we split it with the police department. We gave the police department $25,000. We kept $25,000. They bought bicycles in order for them to use here in the town. Instead of the police was driving, they rode the bicycles going around. We got computers and stuff in order for us to use. We had seminars to tell the young people on what to do and how to do when they walking down the street and they see paper and stuff like this to pick up the trash so it wouldn't fill up the gutters, or it wouldn't have flooding back in the house. We had different communications, but we had problems. We had people from the college coming over from Perry State College or even from South Suburban College, okay? And they came in and they showed when we had different insect problems like this here, okay? And what to do and what we could do to save and protect our homes. We have a lot of programs that we have to use in the year because it affects the residents, and we will represent the residents in our area. And we got at that time the village was divided up into 5 sections. Now it's 5.5 sections. Okay? But it's more than just one monthly meeting that you have to address, especially if you're a president or an officer of one of those clubs. And like I said, I was an officer of one of those clubs for 7 years, right along with Trustee Ron Clark. Okay? And those things we did. And we got a lot of kids scholarships. The number of got scholarships. If we weren't able to have those meetings, we got funding from state representatives in order so we can bring back to the town that we didn't have to go through.
Are you finished?
Okay, and I'm just trying to give you a
You do
history
not-
of
you-
what occurred.
Trustee Williams, you do not have to give me a history of what occurred because you're acting like I've lived here last year. My question was, and it wasn't necessarily to you, my question was, why do HOA's presidents need a key if they have a meeting once a month? Now, if they have meetings more than that, it's still to me nothing wrong with having the key mandated. Now, you're talking about the past and what was done. I don't see any presidents of the HOA saying or coming up here to say what they do with the keys. And my fight is not with you, and I just don't think you need to yell at me about what happened back then. It's one vote, it's one person, one discussion. I'm having a right to write my question, like everybody else on this board has a right to their question. So don't yell at me, please, about, I know you're passionate, I get you're passionate, but nobody has addressed my question.
Trustee Brown, I think what would help you is the fact that last week, I think our budget administrator indicated that the field houses were used in unscheduled and unapproved time. There's been conversations of that in my house. Am I incorrect in that?
No, you would be correct. It was brought to my attention that some people in the past that have had keys allegedly have used them. Now, when I come out and say that I've seen them, I've been made aware of it, yes, I've been made aware of it, but cannot say that that person actually did it. No, I can't. But it's just been a concern. It's been brought to my attention.
Any other comments?
Only comment I had about this. Most of the people, they will be all over. All over are responsible adults. And the family basically know about all about communication. They all have a schedule. They know their schedule before they barge in on somebody else's time. It's all about communication.
Is there anybody giving any other comments?
I have,
Okay.
I'd like to say thank you to our Public Works Department. This is National Public Works Week, so thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion?
So moved.
A motion for what? It would be a motion to either say, allow the presidents of the sports program to have keys, the homeowners association to have keys or not have keys, like trustee Brown said. So that would be the motion. So whoever wants to make.
My motion is, I make the move that the presidents and heads of the presidents of the homeowners association keep their keys.
I'll second that.
So we have a first from trustee Williams, a second from trustee Roll. Any additional discussion?
So what about the storage units? That's,
The storage units.
I don't think it was anything on here for this.
it's really,
It's not in the action.
belong here at all. It's really for discussion. So I don't know what we're voting, this is discussion only, there's nothing on the agenda that requires action.
No, it's on the agenda, so we can take action on it. That's the board's desire.
No, we didn't get that.
We got a first and a second to allow the keys to the president of homeowners associations and presidents of the sports program.
And trustee Wilson.
Is there any additional questions, comments?
Yes, just one. Administrator Mitchell, can you just double check with them? And when I say them, I mean the presidents of the sports teams to clear up about a shed or any kind of container. Because I guess, back to President Dixon, he was saying that the presidents have talked. So I'm not sure what Melinda Potts' position is, why she tells us those things, and not saying anything negative, but if we could just circumvent with the proper people to figure out that.
Yes, I absolutely can do that. The problem is that I had the meeting with Gary Richardson and Mr. Dixon, and they both agreed that there was no need for the shed. I told them that if a reason came back, that there was a need, it needed to come through the two of them. What I can't do is have conversations with everybody that has an opinion. It needs to come back to those that we entrust with the program, which is the presidents. Now, with that being said, the presidents, if they've got 5 or 6 people on their board, it's going different ways. They need to facilitate that and come back with one recommendation to the village saying, we need the shed or we don't need the shed. So as it was left, and I haven't talked to, because basketball wasn't even in the conversation with the shed. It was just with football and baseball. As of right now, the 2 presidents agreed that they did not need the shed. Football, I just want to be clear, they said if there was the possibility that they needed something, it would not be a shed, it would be a steel container. So now if we're looking at football, now it's not a shed unless the village board says, well, no, we're going to give you a shed, you got to raise your liability insurance, they have to. When we look at a steel container, now we have to look at the aesthetics of that out of the park. So as of right now, and I know Mr. Dixon's not here, I have no problem convening another meeting with the 2 coaches to see if there's now a new need for a shed. But as of a couple weeks ago, they were both clear that if they needed something, that they would contact me. And to this day, it hasn't come back up for the need for a shed. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I got a question. Administrator Mitchell, just one quick thing. Can you clarify for me, I think Dion asked you a question, Lynch asked you a question, and you clarified that you were told, or you were brought aware of, that the keys were being used by the HOA president or whomever outside of schedule. Not that you saw them, but it came to your attention that they were used, where the field houses were used whenever somebody wanted, quote unquote. Is that right or not?
Yes.
Okay. So if we're voting on just one standard, if they should get keys or they should get keys, we're not voting on any kind of stipulation. So if that's the case, what did we change locks for? What do we need a rule for? We might as well just give keys out to whomever. Wasn't it an issue? That's the reason why we changed the locks and did that. I'm just getting clarity on it.
Right, but now we would have control of who exactly has keys, because this administration would have given the keys out. Whereas in the past, we don't know which keys were still out there. The only way to get control of that is to now change the locks and start over. We've got to that point where we started over, we just got to make a decision of who gets keys.
And so we're voting on who gets the keys, or we're voting on that they get the keys, or we're voting on just the presidents get the key, or the presidents or whoever they want to get the key. I just want to know, I want to be clear on what I am voting for, that's all.
Yeah, the motion was to give keys to the president of the sports programs and presidents of the HOAs.
Okay, thank
Any
you.
other questions? Or questions, I'll roll.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Trustee Taylor?
Abstain.
Trustee Roll?
Yes.
Trustee Lynch?
No.
Trustee Clark? Trustee Brown?
Abstain.
We got 2 abstains.
Let's look at
2 abstains and 1 no. 3 yeses. 2 abstains and 1 no.
Half the people, half the trustees voted yes, so that would mean that they would vote for something.
It's already approved, right?
Well, the abstentions go to the majority, so.
I'll vote yes. Discussion, next item.
Yes, a few meetings ago, the discussion was had in terms the federal holiday of Juneteenth to see if we wanted to observe it in the village of Glenwood. After having a conversation with our labor council, if we did do that, we would have to honor that with the police department going by their current contract, which would end up about $8,900. In the public works contract, there is nothing there that says we have to give it to them. However, I would recommend is that if we are about to do this and give it to the police and give it to your corporate employees, that you still give it to the public works employees as well. If not, we will have issues why they wouldn't get that holiday. So the question is, do we want to make it a federal holiday and to observe the cost and to move forward? So I would like to see what the board's pleasure is.
So this discussion came up last year after we had a celebration, and obviously the thought process was if we do give a day off, we're going to have to give it to our unions also. But, you know, as far as observation goes, to allow the staff to celebrate the holiday, we could make this a holiday for the employees to take a day off. So we want to discuss that and make a decision today. So I'm looking for your input as far as what everybody thinks we should do.
So how does the collective bargaining agreement fit in all of this?
Because they're going to grieve the fact that they have a certain number of holidays in their contract.
Right.
So they're going to grieve saying that they're giving employees a day off, and they should get a day off too. So, yeah, I don't disagree.
When is the contract up?
The police is up to 2 years in it.
In 2025.
Next year.
In public works, we just did. So the public work is at 3 years?
Yeah, December 31st, 2025.
Yes.
Can I just make a suggestion?
Sure.
Can I just make a suggestion to the board that you look at the financial implications of what it's gonna cost salary wise, given an additional day and the costs associated with that?
Brian, you got those numbers, all right? How much is it going to cost extra? And
So what you look at is with the police, it's $8,800. But then just like you still have a cost to like your corporate employees. So overall, you're looking at about $17,000.
You wanna relook at that, because you're talking about when you go in, what that cost is for that additional day that you're giving that holiday to, that you're giving, that encompass those benefits, so it's not based on number of employees, that flat rate, so I would just.
Right. I mean, it's gonna go up. I mean, as the employee rates goes up, it's gonna go up.
When you are adding that, I would recommend all the financial data and benefits, long-term, what that look like, whether your employees are increasing, decreasing, that then you open up the door for a different type of negotiations.
So we don't obviously have to vote on this tonight. We have one more board meeting before the Juneteenth will take place. So,
Do we have to vote for it to go into effect tonight? Do we have, okay, we vote for it to go into effect at a later date? Because the study might take longer than just 2 weeks in order for us to get all the numbers.
yeah, we would just have to make sure that if we decide to do it, it's having passed before June 19th.
Motion table.
There's a motion to table. Trustee Lynch, Trustee Clark. Quick question, call roll.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Lynch?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe?
No.
Trustee Taylor?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
Okay, department reports, police, Chief Pettigrew.
Thank you, Mayor, trustee, yes. We are seeking approval to the memorandum of understanding with Chicago Heights Police Department regarding the cameras in the vicinity of the street poles in the city of Hillbrook and along Chicago Heights Road, where us to the payroll that requested. Would somebody like to make a motion for the approval of a memorandum of understanding with Chicago Heights Police Department?
So,
Trustee Lynch, Trustee Clark. Is there any additional questions from the chief?
Chief, what is the cost going to be to the village for this?
No cost. Heights will.
It will absorb the entire cost, even for maintenance, repairs?
Any other questions? Or question, call roll.
Trustee Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Trustee Lynch?
Yes.
Trustee Rowe?
Yes.
Trustee Taylor?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Aye.
Public Works. Go.
We have,
If you could pull the microphone from.
we have an update on contractor status and recommendation. Barbara Elmore of Elmore's Lawn Care was given a letter of default on May 13th at 11 a.m. The reason for default was that she did not complete the required work as stated in the contract. That includes cutting and regrouping all listed village-owned parcels. For the contract, she has 7 days to remedy said default. As of May 20th, 11 a.m., 7 days later, cutting and regrouping was attempted by Elmore's Lawn Care, but the result was unsatisfactory. All village parcels were visited and cutting and regrouping did take place, but the work still did not meet compliance of the contract.
May I approach?
So, Mayor, are we open, is this for, just for information purposes? This is for discussion?
This was for the parcels that were cut, you know, the residents don't cut, we cut them for them, and the village's, grass cut.
Joe, how long in our contract, if I'm not mistaken, there's a 7 or 10 day turnaround to rectify issues, am I correct?
Yes, 7 days.
And so when the time was allotted to correct issues, the issues weren't corrected, is that correct?
All the properties were addressed, but they weren't, up to satisfaction.
Okay. Is this the first notice of default for this season?
For this season, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Chief, since you were here previously before Joe, was this part of the issue last season? Were there default?
I believe when we first had a discussion on this, there was a request for information from the board, and we've got better records now, and I think you could go back to that point. On my side of the equation this time, for the default, the private parcels were all cut with the exception of one in the default period for correct, or the remedy period. Some of them weren't up to par. I talked to the contractor today. So the answer is, I guess, that the remedy was met, the quality was not.
Okay. So,
May I
here
approach?
we go again.
Yep.
We
May I
can't,
approach?
here we go again, it's, I don't know. Our memory is evading us with situations because in seasons past, there's been consistent issues with quality or times of cut, invoices being received to the village. Are you aware of that, Joe? Okay. And so, this season, for whatever reason, we're facing the same issues. Okay, that's the only
Excuse me,
question
may
I
I
have.
approach? May I
And
approach?
and
Will you want to finish?
And the one issue was, the chief, that the residents were following the same way we gave you the ticket and our grass isn't cut, correct?
That's correct. We had a lot of issues with that. If you remember, we didn't give our first private property lot cutting list until May 6th, and that list was given. And at that point, we had a lot of parcels. I put it in the memo to the administrator how many were given on the list to be cut, and we had a lot of parcels at that point. Usually takes us about a month of cutting every week to get everybody under control. So I think Trustee Lynch is correct.
This is the first time we've raised the level of a default notice with a remedy. That's where we're at today, so we kept our records per the direction of the board from last year. The reason the initiation of the default, if you read the memorandum, was that the contractor gave notice to the village that they weren't going to cut last week, and in this particular growing season, that didn't work so well. And in the contract itself, the village is the only one that has the right to say not to cut. It says 26 cuts continual every week from the onset, and that's where we got into a problem because we didn't cut the village parcels, and people were coming to court last Wednesday, and the question was, well, how do you give me a ticket? Your place looks like hell.
Chief, so
I had a problem.
Chiefs, wait,
Excuse me.
you just said that, first of all, Mayor, I think that, and someone understand what I'm gonna say, is no, not directly to you, but this is a board proceeding. This isn't the forum for us to negotiate contracts for vendors.
I understand that.
I mean, now, Chief, if I heard you correctly, did you say that in the contract, and my understanding mirrors what you just said, but I want to be sure that the village is the only entity that can say when we do or do not want yards cut. Is that correct? Is that correct, Brian?
Let me read, that is correct. Let me
And
read
so,
it.
what you then said was that our contractors told us that they weren't gonna cut a particular week?
Yes, it was last week, and Barbara notified us that she was going to continue on with the private parcels and forego the village parcels last week.
Excuse me,
And,
Mayor.
the grass, unless otherwise directed by the village, the grass shall be cut at a frequency of once per week for the duration of this agreement.
So, Barbara, what I'm gonna let you do is we're not gonna go back and forth with the trustee.
No, I just want the board to hear.
I'm gonna let you make a statement,
Okay.
and then you're gonna have to go sit down and we discuss further.
Okay.
Make a statement.
I just want to make a statement that I expected what is happening to happen. What they are describing to you all trustees, and I mean this wholeheartedly, and I'm sure the residents would agree. And if I hadn't had the time, I would have proven my case. What they're setting up is totally untrue. There's no issues whatsoever. The only concern there is that at the beginning of the seasons, especially this one, with tons and tons and tons and tons of rain, that we have all kind of breaks. Now, last season, when I started late, it's because an insurance company didn't have my certificate of insurance. I couldn't figure out why. I was in compliance. I didn't owe any money, but they couldn't produce it. So I left that company and went to another company. It took a little while to get that done. They got it done, I got started. So whenever you start late, there is a little catch-up time. The grass is not going to be perfect from the beginning. The beginning of this season, all the grass cutters started a little later. And every year, I watch them start. And if they start kind of right at the same time I do, I know I'm right on track. So even after all the water, when we were able to go out, you're not going to have a perfect cut. You're not going to get rid of all. But even in that, the village, I didn't have any problems. Now at the park, there's two sides in between some gates. It grows real thick and heavy. I don't know if Brian remembers after me having a conversation with him. Brian, tell them, don't fertilize so much because grass is too thick and it's too long, especially on that side. I don't know if you remember having that conversation with me. So what chief, unfortunately, and the public works director is painting, the picture that they're painting for you is totally untrue. Now, week that I said I was not gonna cut. And if there was an issue with it, when I called the chief, because Joe was out of town, Chief, why didn't you say, because I didn't know that particular rule, I don't know the intricacies of those kind of rules. I decided that I wouldn't cut because, no problem at the beginning of the season, except that there was a lot of grass. Only in certain areas, no problems whatsoever. The week at hand, I had 3 machines to break down. It happens, out of my control. We only had like 1 machine and a stander. And we were trying to get it done, and it wasn't working. It was too much grass. It was making it really bad. It was making it ugly. And there's one customer on, I forget the street, on any given day, they're just a problem. They always have been. And they really gave me an issue. They gave my voice, and I think that's who complained to him about things weren't looking good. Now, I guarantee you, if you go out there right now, you will see no problems with the village. Those statements are not true. And I know they set up a nice, perfect picture, Mr. Lynch, and you're kind of piggybacking off of it. These things are not true. Now, week before last, I had equipment to break down. I found out Joe was out of town, so I called the chief. Chief, we're making a mess. Maybe I shouldn't cut this week. At that time, it was sunny. The village wasn't so bad. Didn't get bad until we got more rain. I said, I'm gonna cut some major areas like the Flag Memorial, the front of the parks, just to make it look good. And I'll finish cutting, or I'll start cutting the following week, which I did this past week. I went and rented some equipment from one of the finest companies, Renomax, in Orland Park. Their equipment broke down. Maybe it's too much grass, I don't know. We continue to cut. Anyway, long story shorter, this past week, we got everything done after getting the default. We got everything done from that Monday to this past Monday, except for 3 locations. Except for 3, and they were waterlogged, literally. The retention pond over there, they did the whole thing, but it's one side against the wall where they're building the new fire station. The boys was trying to get it, and one of them was just slid down right into the water. I said, cut off. Leave it. I'm not going to put anybody in danger. So we got three places. And then this week, on Monday, I called Joe. I said, Joe, everything's done. I even went over a few locations just to make it look better. I said, everything's done except for 3 things. I told him what those 3 things were. One of them was the end of French Road, where there's always a great big puddle, and everybody in the village knows it. It's a great big puddle of water. It's the only thing that was left there. We couldn't cut it, we couldn't whack it. Joe's response to me was, Miss Elmore, everything can always be whacked. I said, okay. So I went out there, me and my guys, standing in water and mud, literally, I took the pictures, trying to whack something that we have for all kind of years have always let drop. So, to be honest with you, Mayor, I appreciate what you have done over the years. And I asked you last season, I said, Mayor, did you really go out and look? You said, absolutely. I always get compliments. And I'm not saying this to build myself up, from everybody. And if it wasn't good, the people would know and you'd hear about it. Now, at the beginning of the seasons, it's always going to be extra grass. I can't take it home. It's nothing I can do with it. But it does dissipate over time. So what they're saying is just totally untrue. I was prepared for it. I told people that it was gonna happen. It has happened many, many, many times before. I saw it coming. I felt it in my spirit. I knew what was happening. And I assure you that these things are not true. Now, the lots that the fire chief is talking about, most of them, because I was out there myself, cutting, wiping myself. Most of those look really just fine. The ones that are not so perfect and just not a pretty property, or all of them, I get 60 properties at a time at the beginning of the season. They're all up to here that I'm using my equipment on. It's really hard work. I don't mind the hard work. I'm used to it. I've done it many times before. But if you think you're going to get properties with grass up to here, front and the back, and water, and everything else you can think of, and manicure it, that's not going to happen. But if you go out there right now and follow the list, you'll see that what they're describing is totally not true.
Okay, thank you very much.
Only because I don't have a microphone at my non-table. I am not a liar. I won't be accused of that. Yesterday, Joe took these pictures. I'll hand these out. It's your guys' decision, but I'm not going to get beat up in the public on these houses that we're making people cut and that our own properties don't look good. So, whatever you guys choose, but I'm not a liar. Here's the pictures.
Years and years.
I'm done. Thank you.
So, Mayor, is this just for information or?
Yeah, this was informational because thought maybe people would be getting complaints on this. It's the village of getting complaints. So that's
So, then,
we wanted to make everybody aware that this letter was
okay, all right. Thank you.
Is there any other questions? No other questions?
I mean, who do we ask the question to? Because Ms. Elmore.
To Joe.
Oh, to Joe. Okay, so Joe, real quick. So Ms. Elmore says that what you are alleging is not true. And, that she hasn't had any complaints. And I guess I have a couple pictures that have like, hey, what is that?
That's dead grass.
That's one location that we cut that's a vacant lot. It's not the first time that it was like that. It's just long grass. And when you cut it, if the sun shines, it just comes through. That's what that is. So,
Those pictures are Hickory Park, Estates Park, Apollo Park.
what dates are these?
Yesterday after 11 a.m. AP's Apollo Park, EP's Estates Park, HP's Hickory. I only had time to go on and take a couple pictures, but I think there's more than enough there to see the condition of the building right now.
So does anybody have any other questions? Okay, we'll pass the pictures down so the trustees can see it. Any new business?
I have some.
Sure.
Mayor, Brian Goodwin wants to ask a question. What plan, if any, do we have for our tips that set to expire? We have about 3 or 4 that set to expire. What is our plan of action for those?
Well, the next tip to expire in the State Street, isn't it, John?
No, Main Street.
Main Street.
Main Street is the end of 25, that's from my memory, so I could be off a little bit, but I don't think so. The next one would be the industrial TIF, which is, I believe, 2027, but again, this is from memory. I think we have a while.
Okay.
But we did put a request out to the taxi bodies to see if they would be willing, the industrial TIF, to extend it, because you can extend it. It would still come to the board for approval, so it's not, we just send out letters saying they'll recommend the extension of the TIF.
So our was gonna ask that if communication has been sent to the other bodies
Yes,
about
we send it all out to see if they'd be interested in doing that, but it would definitely come to the board.
So Brian, can the board get a copy of those letters and listen out? And my other question to that, which was my original question, is do we have a plan for TIFs that are expired?
Well, once the TIF's expired, then I think it's kind of better. Money in the TIF goes to the taxing box, correct?
Yeah.
That's if we declare a surplus, correct?
No, when they expire, whatever's in that TIF goes back to the tax.
When it expires, the TIF no longer exists, so at that point, each taxing body will have the ability to tax the entire value of the property during the period when the TIF exists, they only tax the value of the property at the time the TIF was created, and the value above that is called the your tax increment EAB. So when the TIF goes away, they now have the ability to tax the entire EAB, and the difference between what then the entire EAB is and the EAB that they're taxing now, which is the EAB when the TIF was first created, is called your recovered TIF value. Now, what happens to funds in the TIF at the time it expires depends on a lot of things. As you know, TIF money can be used in a contiguous TIF, so you can do that and spend that money there. If that doesn't use it all up, and there is a positive number after the expiration of the TIF, my view of that is that we need to hold on to it for a bit because there are oftentimes PTAB complaints that are filed.
And John, you guys can answer the questions. And so there was a PTAB file for one of our TIFs, correct?
Yes, we've a couple I'm aware of. We have one currently for the nursing home property that has just started. It oftentimes takes many years for those to resolve themselves through the process, through PTAB.
And so the nursing home and what other business is delinquent in taxes right now?
Nursing home, to the best of my knowledge, is not delinquent. They're going to PTAB because they want to substantially reduce the assessed value of the property, which will ultimately reduce their taxes.
So, okay, so nursing home isn't delinquent?
As far as I know.
What about Tuscan Gardens?
Tuscan Gardens?
Are they delinquent?
I have to check.
I think they are. And so my original, I guess we have no plan for the expiring test.
Well, the one TIF that the industrial park TIF, we were hoping to extend. You know, we have several businesses in there. Westside Trucking just sold the company. So we don't know what the fate of their future is. We have other large businesses in there, and Cook County taxes are onerous, and we could have issues in there.
So, yes, I agree, I understand that. So I guess I should have to say we don't have a plan for that. Brian, if you remember, a few years ago.
The plan is to extend it.
No, that I'm sure, but I mean for the funds in those accounts. Do you have a plan for those?
You know, we've talked about in the Main Street TIF, putting lighting down Main Street to beautify it. Maybe do some road resurfacing on Main Street, since that's an expired TIF.
John, when could we expect for the state equalizer to potentially be?
I'm sorry.
The state equalizer?
This year?
Yeah.
This, of course, is the South Suburb reassessment year. The state equalizing factor is the biggest unknown there is in determining what your tax rate will be. It can change, especially with the current assessor. It's been higher than it has in past years. The best guess I can give you is that it's probably going to be maybe small. Last year was 2.9239 for the state equalizer. Which means roughly your assessed value is multiplied by 3 to determine your equalized assessed valuation. This year, my best guess would be that's going to be maybe a little less than that.
So, to my knowledge, we haven't discussed the use and the transfers of all of our active TIFs.
Yeah, we go through each TIF and talk about the projects that are in place and ones that may be imminent coming up at that meeting.
So, Mayor, can we have a TIF meeting? I think that they're
We had
a discussion
or just the trustees or the taxing?
taxing bodies.
Well, once we get,
I mean, because that's a public meeting.
oh yeah,
Regardless.
yeah, it's, one of the issues with TIF meetings is, of course, goes back to our finances. We need to have an audit in place that's distributed with that final report. So obviously, as our audits are behind, we can't necessarily complete TIF reports, because every TIF that has generated over $100,000 in TIF increment needs to have an audit every year. So,
If I remember that just kind of being more informational dialogue as opposed to a roadmap as to how those TIF funds are being spent. But Adam, maybe I can ask you, in terms of TIF funds being transferred, should the board have discretion, conversation related to funds transferred from TIF to TIF?
Yeah, I mean, every transfer has to be budgeted. So when we do the budget meetings, that's when we should be, approving those, transfers. But by state law, we're allowed to move money around between contiguous TIFs.
So when is that last meeting happening? So should be here.
The Jordan Review Board, or?
No, those meetings discussions to move funds from one TIF to the next.
The last budget meeting, we had, one was approved in December.
And that was staff.
No, it was here.
I don't remember approving transfers from one TIF to the next.
It was part of the budget. So you did an ordinance approving the fiscal year 2024 budget. It wasn't specifically discussed.
Right.
It's in the line items.
So, Mayor, there needs to be conversation, at least I believe the board needs to understand as funds are being transferred from one TIF to the next, so that we understand the obligations to those TIF, because if we have businesses that are filing for P-tax, if we have businesses that are delinquent on taxes, what we have, or what we're expected to get from those TIFs, to generate in those TIFs, won't actually come to fruition. But more than that, I think that, does the finance committee have any involvement with our TIFs?
When we approve, the Senate program, it was the financing, it was also economic development.
So we have TIFs that probably won't materialize. We have some RDAs where we're giving between 50 to 80% return to the business owners. We've forgiven some mortgages, and we're also giving Class 8s. I want to just better understand how, at what point, we're going to better use that TIF money for the village, because outside of the fire department, I don't know if any major projects that the village has done or that could have been used for, or could have been completed with TIF money.
Well, we went and got the businesses, we didn't give them a rebate on their Cook County taxes.
I'm not debating that we should not have some incentives in place, but what I'm saying is,
And the majority of the incentive agreements, if they don't pay their taxes, they don't get any money. Because we split whatever money that they pay in. So if they don't pay their installment to Cook County, they don't get any money.
but neither are we. Neither are we. And we're giving them breaks, and they are also filing for Class 8, which is a reduction in taxes. We're giving them a percentage return back from their money.
They're filing Class 8 by coming through us. They can't file a Class 8.
But the county now approves Class 8s.
Class 8 is a county program, and they need to get village approval before the county will approve it. And Blue Township,
So
Blue Township is one of the 5 townships where Class 8s are allowed without going through a very lengthy Tiff Holbrook Road, 1.1 plus million. Tiff Industrial North, 569,000. Tiff South, 304,000. Tiff Main Street, 258,000, and Tiff Industrial, North Halsted, 78,853.
Two last questions, just so that I understand. If, for whatever reason, it's time, how should we then, if this PTAB is approved, and we have to reimburse those taxes that the businesses have paid, where would that money come from?
That's why I recommend when a TIF expires that we hold on to that extra surplus money until all the PTAB cases have been resolved.
When's the last time we declared a surplus?
What's that?
When did we last declare a surplus?
We had a couple $1 million surpluses at some point.
10 years ago?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. We 1 million one year, I think we were over that another year. We got 3 or 4, if I remember was correct.
And so would we be responsible for using general funds at any point if these TIF funds do not materialize?
Correct. Well, here's what's happened. Because the PTAB process takes so long, you could get a decision from PTAB that says that person's property was assessed too high and they get a refund. And if the property is in a TIF, that could occur long after the TIF has expired. So what the county's practice is to just then take it from the general fund of the village. That's why I suggest we don't give any surplus money out to anybody until such time as we get a handle on the status of those PTAB cases and what they've been decided. There have been litigation on that, and a number of taxing bodies in Arlington Heights sued the county saying you can't do that. You can't take our general fund money, pay off this TIF debt that just expired. You can't do that. And the court basically, it's kind of a very practical decision, says, yeah, what's the county supposed to do? You're entitled to a refund under this process, and the county pays back the refund, and then they have to collect it. Well, they have to collect it from somebody. They shouldn't have to pay it, so they collect it from the taxing bodies themselves. And that's litigation that's going on in our Heights case probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. That's been around. So that's the process, and why my recommendation is we don't give out any money for a TIF until such time as we have a very good handle on what that PTAB, as well as those PTAB cases are.
And I concur with this statement, but I just also want to add, these PTABs can go 7 to 10 years. So, if you don't have this money in escrow, automatically the county will send you a letter saying your TIF agreement has lapsed, and then you get 23 years plus 1, which is the tax levy year, because tax levy is a year behind. So, I recommend also keeping that money in escrow in that TIF fund and continue to file state reports with that money to cover those potential liabilities.
And so then how do we do that, Adam, when we don't know what the state equalizer is currently, and it's sometimes taking an extremely long time for it to be illustrated. 2, if we are, at least in our case, have a lot of contiguous TIFs where we're moving money from one TIF to the next.
The board will have to make a recommendation, or the board will have to make a motion or ordinance saying we're keeping $400,000 on this TIF to fund potential.
But it would also behoove us to get regular statements to understand what our balances look like.
Yeah, and Cleta and I were working on that, and did you hang this out? Or? Okay, yeah, so I have a cash balance that we were working on together that basically shows you the activity for the last 3 years.
Because my understanding is, yeah, I thank you for that. Because my understanding is we've got few delinquent businesses in a few different TIFs.
And so each TIF has its own agency code. So as those properties pay their
property taxes, or if they, you know.
If they're paying.
If they pay, but it'll be on to the next, you know, the county will handle it for like the tax sale. So someone's gonna eventually pay that, so eventually you're gonna get the money back. It may take time, but you'll get your money.
I mean, it'll take time, but then also the other caveat to that is one, you have to hope that the businesses are paying their taxes. That's one. Two, if the tip is already in a deficit, then you combine that with the not receiving taxes from that particular business. I mean, that's putting us way behind the eight ball already there. But I guess my biggest concern is
We don't pay the businesses any money until they pay their taxes. TIPs are also what I would call a self-funding, meaning the person only gets a payment when they've paid their taxes, and determination of the TIP increment on those taxes has been made, and then they get a portion of that back, depending on what their redevelopment agreement states. So they say 50% back, so if someone pays $300,000 of taxes and $200,000 is TIP increment, that gets split. $100,000 from the village, $100,000 to reimburse eligible costs for the developer on a particular property. If they don't pay taxes, they don't get anything.
so. Thank you, Anthony, for putting together that financial report. So, is that something we should expect for every board meeting?
Yes, I could give it to the finance committee, and then from there, with my sales tax and all that report, I can make it a regular report to you guys.
And so that also includes balances, bank statements?
If you want bank statements, yes, I can.
Bank balances.
The bank balances are in your packet now.
Okay, any other new business?
So, Mayor, can we schedule a TIP meeting in the near future?
Sure. I would recommend, it's an annual meeting. The superintendents usually have a busy schedule, still obviously coming up to summer. You know, if you need to talk about extension, have it, but I would have a purpose and agenda. But if you're doing an annual review, do it on an annual basis and wait for the 2022 audit and get the state comptroller reports to, you know, add all that in together.
So our next audit would be expected to be finished when?
We are still processing that paperwork. I would probably expect, if we get into them, I have 2 more audit sections, fixed assets and accounts payable, Talia and I are working on. Once we turn over the trial balance to the auditors, probably 2 months after that, so minimum 3 months from now.
And so how far are we to the audit being completed?
Audit hasn't started, so we're still working on the work order papers. Stuff wasn't recorded, I probably processed 150 journal entries, just to get the books corrected. So I do have a trial balance with like, the work paper references and all that tie out to every balance sheet line item, and you can see which ones are still working if you wanna take a look at it.
So you said, I didn't get the first part, you said that the audit process hasn't started?
Has not. I haven't released the trial balance because we're still doing journal entries.
There's statutory language in the TIF Act that talks about having your meeting within 180 days after you complete the audit. Since they audit not only the village funds, they also audit separately each of the TIF accounts. So they a little 3 or 4 page audit report for each TIF.
And I just for trustee Lynch saying, not in the essence work that the audit hasn't started, he's doing the prep work.
Okay.
And once the trial balance is submitted, then they'll come and start pulling documentation. So we have, did the cleanup and laid the foundation to begin for the process too.
And just, how long do we anticipate before that process is done?
I said, once they finish the couple of I didn't say we had to, that once we submit to them, then they'll respond, it's like a back and forth. And so we just have to make sure that the information is accurate and that,
The worst case scenario that will happen is if you give them the trial balance and then you're going back and forth with journal entries between me and them. The numbers will get skewed. In addition, your cost from the auditors, I believe we have a stipulation in there that it's a fixed cost and then anything
forecasted budget that, you guys have sent. Thank you for that. How should the trustees send questions, comments, because that document released unless I was utilizing the wrong, wasn't able to be manipulated for questions or input?
Any questions you have on this issue?
I know last year that, I'm sorry, was it maybe, yes, last year, you remember, Treasurer, that it was a fluid document, we were able to input some information in there to a certain extent.
That's once you get to the final trial process start.
Any other new business? Any old business? Somebody like to make a motion to adjourn? Is that trustee Taylor? Oh, trustee Roll? Trustee Taylor? Clerk Washington, call roll.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Park.
Yes.
Trustee Lynch.
Yes.
Trustee Rowe.
Yes.
Trustee Taylor.
Yes.
Trustee Williams.
Aye.